Do you know what? As Sundays go, yesterday has got to have been one of the fittest Sundays on record. No, I'm not talking about the Euros. Genuinely couldn't give a monkeys because football won, best team won, etc., etc. So I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about Rangers because that's what we're here to talk about. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters is Rangers. Um, I don't know. I want to say I told you so a little bit. It's a little bit of, well, we saw that coming, didn't we? It's inevitable. What we're going to do, we're going to talk about what actually happened. Let's talk about the facts of what actually happened yesterday. We'll talk about that first of all. We're going to talk a little bit about what Philippe Clement actually had to say. And then we'll sort of talk about what this actually means and give some opinions on it, because this is kind of a real kind of defining moment in this off season at this moment in time. This is kind of a moment where we kind of sit there as fans and we kind of go, for goodness sake, not again. So we came into this season, this preseason, knowing we needed a rebuild. We knew that players would have to go out. We understood. I think we all understood that it was going to be very much a one in, one out because of the size of the squad, and 5 players moved on and 5 players have come in, and the money that was kind of used for those players was kind of wages being freed up by Barisic going and Lundstrom going and Roof going. They were all on massive salaries. So look, that does kind of free some of the money. That's kind of where the 2 million came from. Igman for Igman, the 800k, 900k for Hefte, and so on and so forth. But Philippe Clement kind of lifted the lid a little bit the other week when he talked about the fact that it's difficult to bring in players when there's no money coming into the club. He kind of hinted at something not being 100% right. And I kind of surmised that meant that we had to sell to buy. And lots of you said to me, no, that's not what it means at all. Rangers don't have to sell to buy and et cetera, et cetera. Well, it now looks like we do have to sell to buy. And that's come straight from the manager himself. But what the manager says, I think, is very telling because of the fact that, to me, it seems like the board completely misled Philippe Clement on his appointment in October. They told him one thing, I think, to try to get him to sign the contract. And now this summer's come and he's kind of been told a complete opposite, as if he's been told, that what he was told back in October is not factually accurate. I'm trying to be very careful here to avoid any Rangers lawyers. So this is what Philippe Clement had to say. This was obviously from Heart and Hand to a club partner. We know this is from a reputable source. It's not from one of those, clickbait websites. This is from a reputable source, Heart and Hand, from David Edgar and the boys and the girls, of course, with the brilliant Marina and Caroline. So PC says Rangers have to sell before we can buy. That's in response to a question directly about that he was asked yesterday. That's the reality that the board told me a few months ago. So it seems that for the last couple of months, whilst we've all been talking about signing Seema for 7-8 million, signing Shankland for 5 million, signing this defender for 4 million, this player for 6 million, that was all just pie in the sky thinking. It was all completely, irrelevant. And, it seems that, and I hate using these words, that we really are skint. Look, board has told him that we have to sell to buy. Their board will not sanction any transfers, not sanction any more money going out of the club until players have left. Now, look, I get and I understand. Actually, I'll get to that. Let me just go through the comment and we'll talk a little bit more about that, because I want to pick a bit of these elements out. I know this, the recruitment team knows this also. This is the reality of the club. I had other expectations when I came in October, I have to say. But I know the reality now. I am very motivated to build the club up and help in that. It's focusing not only on the short term, but also on the long term. If I only looked at the short term, I would only be bringing experienced players who can do the job directly. Mistakes like that have been made too much in the past, and you don't reach your goals. You need the different philosophy, and that's what we are working towards. This is a massive rebuilding job. It is true. Right, so let's pick out some elements of what Clement had to say and talk a little bit around those, because this club is in a bad state. It is in a bad state. I'm going to be honest with you. This board have put us in a position that is just awful. We go into the start of this season at this moment in time. where we cannot afford to buy any more players unless players leave. We cannot yet appoint a CEO because it doesn't seem to be anywhere near the list of priorities. John Bennett seems quite happy having the role himself, even though he is making an absolute pig's ear of it. We haven't got a stadium to play in because our stadium is not finished, because building work that was undertaken has now run behind due to poor organisation, poor project management by our club. We've got a situation where we have got players on vastly overinflated contracts who are not going to leave anytime soon, because why would they? Because the situation is this, guys. If you're Connor Goldson and earning £38,000 a week, if you're Ben Davis earning £27,000 a week, if you're Cyril Dessers earning £27,000 a week, if you're James Tavernier earning £30,000 a week, and if you're Abby Matondo earning £28,000 a week, why are you going to leave and probably take a pay cut to go and play elsewhere? Now, realistically, Ben Davis, for example, let's take him for an example. The championship clubs are looking at him. No championship club is going to give him £27,000 a week. Connor Goldson was linked with a move to Bolton and only moved to Birmingham. They are not going to pay him £38,000 a week. So why, as players, are they going to walk away from huge contracts like that, pay them a substantial amount of money? And we've already seen these days that players don't really care about playing, because at the end of the day, it's all about how much money they get paid. So the problem is we've been landed, and I'm not blaming John Bennett. Well, I am kind of blaming John Bennett. He was part of the board. But, Douglas Park, Stuart Robertson, Ross Wilson have all got to take their fair share of blame in the debacle and in the state this club is in at this moment in time. Douglas Park, Stuart Robertson, post 55, did not back Stephen Gerrard. They have overseen disastrous window after disastrous window run by Ross Wilson, who ran this club's transfer policy and contracts into the ground and left us in a position with players walking away for nothing. We could have got substantial fees for them. Just seen, for example, Glenn Kamara transferred from Leeds to Rennes for 10 million. Yes, we do get a sell-on fee from that, but that could have been money that we generated if we'd been on a better contract. We've seen players being paid massively overinflated salaries for their ability. Injury-prone players signed and paid overinflated salaries. Journeymen signed, paid overinflated salaries. And that is down to Douglas Park. It is down to Stuart Robertson. It is down to Ross Wilson. Those three are massively guilty of the damage this club has been done to this club previously, and financially has been down to them. Now, let's pick out one element of what Clement said yesterday. This is the one I want to really focus on to start with. He said that we've obviously got to sell before we can buy. That's the reality of the board told me a few months ago. I know this. The recruitment team knows this also. This is the reality of the club. I had other expectations when I came in October, I have to say. So what do we take from this? We take, first of all, that the board have once again remained absolutely silent throughout this process, have not once come out and said, well, actually, that's a lie. They have come out once. John Bennett said at the AGM, I seem to recall this, that the manager will be backed. What an absolute load of crap. What a load of rubbish. What an absolute just ridiculous statement to make when that is quite obvious that he is not doing that. Okay, so the reality of the situation we are now in is until we sell players, we cannot buy any players. At this moment in time, as it stands, we cannot afford and will not be buying Abdallah Sima. Those of you who are pro Shankland, pro Miovski, we cannot afford them. We will not be buying them. There's a likelihood, apparently, in the reports of the media today that Celtic will be buying Bojan Miovski as they can afford it. Now, yes, I understand that we have to obviously lighten the wage bill because the wage bill is exceptionally high. And I understand that our squad is too big. Go back and watch my video from last Monday. You'll see that's what I said. And I understand that. Okay, but the board have quite clearly misled Philippe Clement with their comments. They said quite clearly, I think, in October, that there was a different reality, a different transfer policy in place in October. Clement was clearly under the impression that when he came in October, that there would be money to rebuild this squad. There would be the potential to bring in experienced players for a fee. There would be the potential to sign players. But it's quite clear that that is not the case. And that if he was told that back in October, that is a shameful situation. And James Bisgrove, who is now no longer with the club, has to also take his fair share of blame in this by going along with allowing the board to mislead the manager. Now, the recruitment team knows this. So, people have asked, why have we not got these deals over the line? The Kabaddi deal, for example, the Cordoba deal, the Dalmes deal, all these other deals, the Damian Garcia deal. Why have we not got them over the line? Well, I think now it is blatantly and plainly obvious why we haven't got them over the line, because there is no money there. There's no money to buy these players. There's no money to pay these players wages. And that is why we haven't got them over the line, because there's just no money there. The board are not backing the manager. They are not speculating. They are not giving the manager the necessary funds, or Niels Koppen the necessary funds to go and recruit the players, to go and get the players we need to become successful. Now, I respect Philippe Clement even more now, because, realistically, when a couple of months ago he was told that there was a situation that we would not be able to buy buy players before we sell players, which went against what he was told in October, that he didn't walk out, that he didn't resign, that he didn't leave his job, that he didn't, head off to another job, because, he could have done that. And I think, if it had come out that that was the reason that he'd done it, fans probably would have respected him for it and actually backed him for doing it. Because that's the sort of thing, that I would say is quite within, a person's right. If you were promised something when you sign a deal or sign a contract with somebody, and then they don't fulfill it for you, you're quite willing to renege on your contract and walk away from that situation because you've been let down by your employer. And Clement has clearly been let down by this board. He has clearly could have been put in a situation where he's going into the new season with one arm tied behind his back. There's no money there. The money's gone. It was not there. Now, look, people can blame Michael Beale. I think he has a role to play in it, but the net spend last year was not as high as people make it out to be, because of the fact that it was around 13 million, not the 21 million that was reported, and that's inclusive of loan fees, signing on fees, etc., as per accounts. But you think about the amount of money that came in from the Europa League run, the Champions League money, the Bassi money, the Aribo money, all that money. Where's that all gone? Well, it's gone on infrastructure. It's gone on Edmiston House. It's gone on museums and sports bars and things like that. So rather than getting it right on the pitch, they're trying to get it right off the pitch first. Now, call me stupid or call me pedantic, but don't you have to have a winning product on the pitch if you're going to attract extra people into your business? That's part of the thing that attracts people, is a winning product. And at the moment, we haven't got a winning product. We've got a product that's won 3 trophies in 12 years, which by the standards of our club is not acceptable and is not anywhere near good enough for this club. Now, before I talk a little bit about Philippe Clement and the faith I've now got in him after this comment that he has made, I just want to address one thing. The board came out and made a statement the other day as regards the stadium and talked about Hampden being closed. They talked about they made that apology too little too late. They said what they said. John Bennett is putting himself and the board in a position. He has not come out and directly spoken to fans. He has not done any interview on RTV. How easy would it be to get the RTV cameras into Ibrox, sit down with the chairman, talk to the chairman? Yes, the last time he went on RTV and last time he gave an interview, it was an absolute car crash interview, best in class. Don't make me laugh. But he needs to do something, because at this moment in time, I think I can say that the fan base after the stadium debacle, now with this coming on top, where we've been told that there's basically no money for this rebuild, are raging. They're absolutely fucking raging. And rightly so. This is a fan base that have spent hundreds of pounds on season tickets. You can go into thousands with some fans on merchandise, on kits, on following the team home and away. Thousands, tens of thousands. And this board are just taking them for granted. They're treating them like a dumb cash cow they can just dip into whenever they fancy to line their own pockets. The fans deserve better than this. The fans deserve to be treated with some respect by this board. And at the moment, John Bennett, Park Jr. and the rest of this board have absolutely zero respect for our fans because they treat them with utter contempt. Utter contempt. You know, it is utterly unacceptable how this board are behaving at this moment in time. They are running this club into the ground. They are turning us into the laughing stock of Scotland. They are turning us into the laughing stock of Glasgow. They are turning us into a laughing stock in Europe by the way they run this club, more like an Isthmian North Premier League club from England in the non-leagues, or a Highland League team or a Lowland League team, rather than like one of the biggest clubs in European football. They're not fit for purpose. They are not fit for purpose. And if they were a manager of a football team, they would have been sacked by now. And don't give me this crap that John Bennett loves Rangers. He cares about Rangers, etc., etc. He does not give a shit. All he cares about is money. And I just, look, I know Rangers monitor social media. I know they monitor podcasts. I know. And you know what? If they pick up any of this, you know what? John Bennett, Josh Hollywood, Craig Robertson, Mr. Parker Jr., whatever your bloody name is, Muppet, whatever your name is, come on the podcast. Debate with me. Debate it with me. You wouldn't have the nerve to come on a fan podcast because you'd be too goddamn scared. Now, in terms of the manager, you know, he says, I know the reality now, and I'm very motivated to build this club up and help in that. It's focusing not only on the short term, but on the long term. And that if he was only focusing on the short term, he would have gone about the buys that we've made so far in a different way. Now, for me, I've got huge respect for Philippe Clement after today. You know, he could have walked away. He could have said, I'm not staying here after I've been treated like this, after I've been lied to, after I've been told a whole series of factual inaccuracies. You know, he could quite easily have said that. That's not a problem. But he's here for the long term. He's making the best of what he's got. And I think before we criticize Philippe Clement, before we say anything about him, you've got to remember that what he's got, the squad he's got, the players he's got, that's it. He can't change that. He can't. He's trying to, but he can't because he's got no money to spend. So he's just got to make the best of what he's got. Now, if that means that on day one of the season, we go into that Hearts game with a team of Jack Butland in goal, Tav at right back, Goldson and Suter in the central defence, Ridvan at left back, Diamande and possibly Barron because of Raskin's injury, Sterling, and we've got then, say, Lawrence, and we've got Cortez and Dessers or Danilo up front. You know what? We've just got to back the manager because that's all he's got. It's not his fault. It's not his fault if Dessers misses chances. It's not his fault if Tav can't defend. It's not his fault if Goldson falls asleep and shuts down and turns his back on balls. It's not his fault if Suter's got a mistake in him. It's not his fault because at the end of the day, this is what he's got. He is trying the best with what he has got. The squad he has been given is what he's got. That's it. He's tried. He hasn't got any money. Now, look, things could change. We could sell Tav. We could sell Goldson to the Saudis once their window opens, and we could raise, say, 8-10 million there. Money from the Kamara sale. We could perhaps, you know, sell Tom Lawrence down south for £4 million, bring in 14-15 million, reinvest it, buy some new players, and things could look a little bit more rosy. Of course they could. But realistically, are people going to come in and buy these players? Who knows? Who genuinely knows? But it's sad that the board have put Clement and Coppen, who are quite clearly very brilliant men in terms of their ability to identify talent and bring talent in, especially Niels Coppen, that they're basically asking these two men to do their job with one arm tied behind their back. You know, it's a real sad state of affairs that a board that have no clue about football, no real love for this club, are just, I don't know, treating it as a money bank to take money out of. I'm trying to stay as calm as possible here. I'm trying not to rant and rave, which I quite easily do because I'm angry. I'm very angry about this. It's not a good situation. It really is not a good situation that we've been placed in by this board. And Clement is stuck with this. Now, I admire his honesty. It is now time for John Bennett to speak to the fans. tell the truth. Tell the truth. Have some balls. Be a man. Come out and speak to the fans. I bet he won't. But for me, long term, this club needs to look at how we can get rid of this board and bring out in outside investment, whether that be from America or Saudi or south of the border or from within Scotland itself or somewhere. Bring in investment, bring in new owners. Someone like Dave King, I think, if we could persuade him to come back, would be perfect, I think, for trying to find new investors to come in and get rid of Bennett and Park, etc., etc. Because until John Bennett is gone, until Park Jr. is gone, I think there's nothing changes at this club. And that we'll be having the exact same conversation in 12 months, 24 months, 36 months time. I genuinely do. Because these men have not got the best interest of Rangers at heart. They genuinely haven't. Not in my opinion anyway. Guys, let me know what you think about what the manager had to say. Let me know what you think about what I've had to say. I think it's an absolute shambles. I think it's an absolute disgrace. Like I said, I have a newfound respect for Philippe Clement. I think he's doing the best he can. I think the board have really screwed him over. Thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation, guys. On the way out, if you can do me two favors. Number one, smash that like. Number two, remember always, we are the people.